You are someone who is disrupting massively multi-billion-dollar industry giants, people like Nivea, like L'Oréal, and you're doing it all with Horace.
I was just like looking, at Google Trends. I was looking at the volume of search of moisturizer for men. It was like so low. It was so low.
When you first started out, did you ever imagine that Horace would grow this big?
The only ambition that was possible was like, we have to be big. Because if we don't, we'll die at some point. That's because it's just, it's not possible to fight.
So you weren't from fragrance, you weren't from beauty. You sat down with a business partner who was a friend and you said, let's conquer a market.
We took the business from 0 to 25 million in 8 years.
Wow. Every entrepreneur dreams of the perfect market disruption story. Spotting what industry giants miss, challenging the status quo and emerging victorious. Today, we're diving deep with an entrepreneur who did exactly that in one of the most established markets imaginable.
He took on L'Oréal, Nivea, and other billion-dollar giants in men's skincare with no industry experience, rejected every conventional practice, and became number one in France without ever relying on traditional retail.
What makes this conversation particularly special is how our guests identified that the beauty giants' greatest strengths have become their biggest weaknesses.
Their size, traditional approach, and established playbook had made them blind to how men actually want to buy skincare products. Whether you're looking to spot your own market gap or you're trying to challenge industry giants,
you're about to learn how sometimes the most obvious opportunities are the ones that everyone else has convinced themselves don't exist.
Okay, Marc, welcome to the show. You are someone who is disrupting massively multi-billion-dollar industry giants, people like Nivea, like L'Oréal, and you're doing it all with Horace. So we want to get you just to introduce yourself firstly. Tell us a little bit about yourself and why this brand started.
So I'm Marc Brian-Terlet, if I say it in a French way. I'm like CEO and co-founder of Horace, which is a brand we started with my co-founder Kim Mazili 8 years ago. And the idea was really like, can we do a brand that actually like speak to us in a broader way, speak to our family, speak to our friends? Because it was, and it still is, very, very cliche. It's still like a very muscular guy. It's still like bright orange, like huge form and stuff, things that smell like the 80s. And it was like, can I have like a good looking product that just works well when you talk to me in a simple way, and you have people that look like me, my friends, and everyone in the ads, and not just only David Beckham, because it's like, I'm not an athlete. I don't have like a nutritionist, an esthetician. So like, I'm a regular guy. And so we started with that, and it just really took off.
You worked in marketing and journalism when you first started, right? So how do you think that outside perspective helped you spot what other people were missing?
That's a very, very good question. One of the things that help us a lot, Kim and myself, is that we are outsider. We didn't come from like cosmetics or fragrance at all. I was a journalist at the very beginning of my career, and I moved into marketing. I work mostly in fashion. And fashion and beauty is the same stuff, even though like they don't operate the same way. You buy it because you want to look good. It's the same goal you have in mind. And it's sort of, and we also had the chance of being at Vans, so the skate company, in 2008 to 10, when it really like took off in Europe. And I sort of created the like digital environment for them. So like e-commerce, email, digital, social media and stuff, when it was like basically MySpace and Facebook. And so I understand how much you needed content, and you needed to like, and social media would also allow us to have like a direct relationship, which is something when you're L'Oréal, when you're Beiersdorf with Nivea for Men, you don't do, because your client is like a supermarket. So having this edge of being able to create the connection directly, and having in mind that content is really the most important thing. It has to fit the brand, so it's, of course, and the product, but it's a lot about content. We sort of channel into that, and we just created like the best brand, best product with just the best content.
And I was reading before that, and you might update us, but in 2023 you had 21% of the French market
in men's skincare.
And since 2023?
I don't have the 2024 numbers yet, but
let's
it's probably
just say 41%.
But as in, are you sitting there thinking?
Oh yeah. Are we gonna
directionally?
Directionally, we're gonna be somewhere between 25% and 30%.
Wow.
And so it means that we will almost be double the number two.
There would be an assumption as well. I think that the men's French market, maybe along with Italian and then maybe English, but probably not, would be the premium market for this space in general.
Nope.
Oh,
Skincare for men is bigger in the UK than it is in France, but like twice bigger. But we use more fragrance in France because we don't bath and stuff, so we're dirty. So
one
we
of my
put
favorite
fragrance
books
on.
is Perfume. It's set in Paris.
But yeah, I mean, it's basically France and the UK are, in and out the same type of market. And we're number one in men's skincare. We're number 4 in men's hair, and we will stay number 4 in men's hair. But we're gonna close the edge with American Crew in France. So we're sort of, and also to add like overall, like in a men's beauty and fragrance in France, we are now in the top 10. So, and this, like 2024, we will be bigger than L'Oréal Men Expert, closing the gap with Nivea for men, and starting to be very close with just bigger fragrance that just only sell fragrance. So it's just it's kind of crazy because I would have never expected that in my life.
I mean, one of my questions for you is, I suppose retrospectively, now we're sitting here in 2024 looking at men's grooming and so forth. I think it's easy now to say that you can see it. However, you started 8 years ago. I worked, like we were talking about before, I helped a men's fragrance company scale massively. But at the time, we were almost shocked at how fast it was growing. And so when you started, were you looking at this as a business to start, or were you saying this could be a massive business? Like, what was the opportunity at the time for you?
I mean, we wanted to be like a massive business because I mean, when you're in the men's space, like the market is so narrow that you're either big or you're dead. Like the market is not big enough for you to be niche. In fragrance, you can actually be, but if you're like grooming and fragrance, you cannot be niche in men's. It doesn't, like, it's too small. So by just the idea of like, we want to do that, the only ambition that was possible was like, we have to be big. Because if we don't, I mean, like, we'll die at some point. That's because it's just, it's not possible to fight.
What did big look like then?
Big was like, the idea was like how we can be like the favorite men's brand in the world. It was always like the ambitions, like we want to be that, and we wanted to be that step by step. So it's then first in France, then it's the UK, then the US. It's not about like taking over everywhere because regulation in cosmetic and fragrance is so big. You cannot just, it's not like a white t-shirt. You cannot like sell it everywhere. You have to enter each regulations. Like let's do it step by step. But the idea was like, yeah, we can do that, and we can also do that because it was, and it still is very, very lame. It's an industry that, I mean, if you're a man, advertising is still about like making sure that if you put like a moisturizer on your face, you're still man enough. And this sort of, whereas like, no, that's okay. Like I'm past that. We are all past that. It's no longer the question. It's just like, I use like a face wash. I clean myself, which is pretty normal. And I use the moisturizer because my skin is tight. And if I don't do that, it's like annoying. But it's just, it was like, there was like a huge space for us.
It's interesting because you mentioned in passing earlier, David Beckham. Actually, but in fairness, he has done a massive, massive global job for men. Like the old thing was very much like, hey, if you're a cool, good-looking, tough guy, you just roll out of bed and live your life. And you go mountaineering and all this shit. You don't do that stuff. And he's probably the first really aspirational man that other men look up to and was like, this guy
because he's from football.
Exactly. He's like one of the world's best footballers at the time and played in the world's best teams. And then had this celebrity lifestyle after where he became a global icon and was probably the first global icon in that space. And he did it all while saying, this is all about taking care of myself. Like the whole positioning was around being a man who looks after yourself. It's quite interesting. As the first person to really do that.
Yeah, he was the first one to be like really open about it. Because I mean, if you think about like
Frank pride.
You know? Frank Sinatra was wearing a toupee. He never said he was wearing a toupee.
Yeah.
But That's like,
But also,
That-
like jokes aside, look at other icons that people look up
Exactly.
to, like even French ones like Eric Cantona, who
Yeah,
people in the UK were
exactly.
obsessed with. Like he was not putting on face cream.
No,
Like,
no,
he
no,
was
no,
the
no.
opposite kind of guy.
No, no,
You know,
no.
the kind of
Probably
icons
did.
that we
exactly.
loved,
Yeah,
they were the
exactly.
opposite. They were the rugged man who did not
It
do
has,
this.
yeah. I mean, it was the time of the Gallaghers and stuff, so it was
Yeah.
like very, and Beckham was like, you can actually take care of yourself and it doesn't change who you are,
Yeah.
which was like a huge thing. I mean, I was like, so I'm 38. I mean, it means like it was when I was, late in high school and stuff. And it has like a shift in the mind. It's like, okay, I can actually take care of myself. But at some point, we also need to be like beyond David Beckham, because it cannot be the only model you show to men. It cannot be just one very muscular guy, young, rich, white, cisgender. At some point, you need to have like a broader vision. And it was like a very different, because at the same time, you had like Beckham saying like, I can take care of myself, that's okay. You had like Dove saying like, this is real beauty. And you were showing in advertising like women of all ages, color, morphologies, which was so fucking different. And now you have like Rihanna with Fenty and stuff. But if you still look at advertising for men in beauty, it's still like very much like Henry Cavill, like a good-looking actor, usually white.
Yeah.
It's not even Idris Elba, it's still
Do you know
very
who should
the
have
same.
done fucking a skincare range? Thierry Henry.
Would have been good.
Yeah, that's one.
People would have bought it.
Any chance of a Horace and Thierry Henry collab? Is he too old
Thierry
now?
Henry, no,
This
Thierry,
will
Thierry
reach
Henry.
you. The show is so big.
If you listen to the show,
Yeah, Thierry.
he,
I'm
he
up for
probably
it.
does.
I
Yeah.
love you, man.
He would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
he has great skin.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
Yeah, he's good
He
looking.
probably
great
looks
skin.
after himself.
Yeah, totally.
Do you find it different advertising heights to men and women?
Well,
Maybe you can give us some context on heights. But
yeah.
also
So
tell us-
I run a consumer company as well, consumer subscription company called Heights. We make supplements for brain and gut health. 60% of our
You see
audience.
they're fucking everywhere. I mean, he puts them everywhere.
60% of our customer base is female. So that's a split, right? So it's pretty much 50-50 at 60%. To be honest with you, no.
Same.
As in, yeah, same. In supplements, the way it works is the majority of the customers are in a household, right? And in a household, it's women.
Okay.
And so when you start doing stuff for families, women buy for their husbands and women buy for their kids and women. So you do think slightly more on the basis of, is a woman going to engage with this or disengage with
Yeah.
this? So the language and all that kind of stuff needs to be consciously not overly masculine. That's the thing. And men will still buy it. And the language in supplements and health doesn't need to be really
Yeah,
broy
that's the thing.
for men to buy into it. They just need to understand that the science and it works and that stuff is fine. So it's a really interesting space. Whereas I think in some supplement categories, people really double down on being for bros.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
if you do proteins only and stuff, it's usually like a broad language.
Yeah, totally. I don't think that's necessary, but I think it works.
Yeah, I think it works, but it also opened up a space for a brand that doesn't talk that way.
Totally.
Which was exactly what happened to us. It's like, because you are so cliche in the way you talk about men, it opened up a space for a brand to talk differently.
Yes, spot on.
And it was, I mean, and the whole point is like, we were sure that there were actually more men that were open to being, spoken to in a normal way and not in a cliche way. And it was like, the bet was basically all that. It's like, we are at the moment in, the life and the use of grooming product and fragrance that we no longer need to reassure men about their masculinity because they are using product. And let's see about that, basically.
Yeah, it's one of those things that once you start using product, you literally can't get back.
Yeah.
Like how weird you feel afterwards not using product.
Yeah. Because you
true.
feel that your skin is tight, you
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like your hair is not as good, you feel like you don't smell that good, so
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, you don't get back really.
I think there's also something in the men's space. Women have done a really good job of self-love and self-care. And I think that feels uncomfortable for men to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, that's men and women have like as many complexes. I mean, it's not a gender thing. It's just the way that women talk about it in a different way.
It's cultural.
Yeah, and it's the feminism. It's like, it's about you feeling good in yourself, not fitting in like a certain archetypes of how you should be as a woman. Whereas men, we are still very much, feel the pressure of like we have to fit in that archetype. Because I mean, I say like I don't want to be David Beckham, but at the same time, I'm thin, I'm healthy, like I take care of myself, I have like good skin, I had like hair transplant, so I'm actually closer to like David Beckham than I am to someone that really don't care about that. But
Totally.
it's just like having the flexibility, and men we are not yet there, but I think it's the role for us is also to help more men get there. It's like you have acne, that's okay, you can take care of yourself, and if you have the zits sometimes, that's fine.
If you're doing business internationally, you should check out Wise Business, the app for doing things in other currencies. Wise Business is the only account you need to manage your company's international money with ease. You can pay and get paid in up to 40 currencies globally, without the headache of multiple accounts. Here's what makes Wise Business incredible. Fast payments, direct integration with platforms like Amazon and Stripe, and seamless connections to your accounting software. With real-time tracking and 24/7 security, your international finances stay protected and under control. Even better, there are no hidden fees, no marked up exchange rates, and no subscription costs to eat into your profits. You can get started with Wise in less time than it takes to make your morning cup of coffee, whether you're launching a new venture or scaling globally. To learn more about how Wise could work for your business, visit wise.com/business. When the company launched originally, how well received was it? Like, did you have like a immediate product market fit?
We had, yeah, that was honestly still crazy to think about it, because like it was never a struggle. It's like, so we started with skincare.
Let's just stop the interview. I can't talk to people like this.
No. I mean, I
love it.
but it's kind of crazy. I mean, it has been like we didn't have like much question. The way the brand is now is the same as 8 years ago. It hasn't changed. Like it's the same mission, same values, same branding, and we started with skincare because there is two good things with skincare. It's first, it's sort of the most complicated category when you're a newbie, and most men are newbies. I am a newbie, so you don't know. So it's sort of, if there is a brand you trust that a good product, you're gonna follow them. And the good thing about skincare is that it sort of has an aura of all other like grooming category. And if your skincare products are good, your body care product is good, your beard care is good, your hair care is good. Whereas if you come from deodorant and then you move to skincare, it's like, man, you're a deodorant brand. What are you selling to my face?
Yeah.
And so we started with that, and like skincare like took off really at the beginning.
Can you give us like some numbers, some context?
That's a good. So yeah, first production of product were like 2,500,
Right.
and we
Presumably before you'd sold anything.
yeah, and we sold it in, I'm not sure. I think it was 6 months or something.
Wow.
And then we just like moved to more and more and more. And it was, yeah, I mean, it was still odd because it's not like a fashion brand where you can just print, 50 t-shirt and you see, like we had to take the risk of having like 2,500 units per reference, and we had two.
It's quite rough on the cash.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we needed to raise money because we didn't have money or.
So you raised before you did the 2.5.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so even to be precise, so I said, and this is important in the stories, like I don't come from fragrance and cosmetic, and neither does Kim. So actually, the company is 10 years old and the brand is 8 years old. And the 2-year difference is like, I thought I would be able to launch product in 3 months. And when I came to the factory, I said, like, okay, I want to do like this cleanser and this moisturizer. Can it be ready for next September? And it was May. It's like, yeah, September next year. No, this year. No way. And so we had to sit down and taking the decision of like, what do we do? Because I quit my job. Kim was still working like at that time in Canada, and he was like working basically overnight. And
Is this your co-founder?
Yeah, my co-founder.
Yeah.
And it was like, what do we do? And the idea was like, okay, we're gonna buy product wholesale, build a brand. So we like had the branding, had the content. We had like one toothbrush that was ours because we wanted people to realize that we could be a brand and not just like a retailer. And it took us, so 2 years after that, we launched the face cleanser, which is a purifying face cleanser, and the mattifying face moisturizer, which still exists now, and they made up of 50% of the sales right away.
Wow.
So it was like, okay, we think it's working. And it was like a very interesting moment because we didn't want to start as a retailer. It was like never the point, but we took it as an opportunity to just learn about the category because we were able to, buy deodorant, buy shampoos, like different product in skincare, and just like, what do men buy, and how far do they go in terms of pricing and stuff. And this is how we realized that men were looking for like a way better deodorant than what they could have like in a supermarket, because they were one of our best seller was like a 20 euros deodorant. So it's like, okay, maybe there is something, because if you're spending that much money, it means something.
So before we talk more about, I suppose, the growth from 2,500 products onwards, like, let's take a step back. What were the big billion-dollar menswear, men's fragrance, men's beauty brands getting wrong? What was it that they were missing that allowed you to come in so strong?
Yeah, was it product or messaging?
Both. It's really product and branding, because you buy in that category, you buy for product and branding. And so if you look at the product, and the branding, everything was usually overcomplicated, which is the main thing about this industry. Beauty loves making things more complicated than they actually are. If you look at the name of a L'Oréal Men Expert product, it's not like a moisturizer. It's like a hydra, energetic, whatever moisturizing stuff. Whereas our product is a mattifying face moisturizer.
Yeah.
And it's still like bright orange or, very like dated, product packaging. And the messaging and the branding at the same time was very dated. I remember, for example, and it's very, very specific, it was like a biotherm advertising for men. And it was a woman applying moisturizer on the face of the man. And it was like...
Yeah, which, as we all know, happens every morning.
Come on. It's like...
Sounds nice.
Come on. Like...
That guy's living a great life.
It's like... It was like... Never happened in my life. Will never happen in my life ever. And it was like... They were...
If you even asked your wife, she'd be like, fuck off, dude.
Yeah, like...
She's got so many fucking creams to put on herself. She hasn't got time.
And it was still, very... Again, like cliche in a way in terms of physique, in the way we talk, and we made it much simpler, which was really the idea. It's like the product needs to be simple, the way we talk has to be simple, the branding is simple, but it still can be aspiring because you can be simple and neat, which is the whole point of Apple. Yeah. So it was just basically really just overcomplicated, and it still is, honestly. If you go to a supermarket and you look at most product, you don't understand what they do, and it's a fucking shampoo.
You've got this non-entrepreneurial family, you go to business school, you spot an opportunity, beauty sucks, and there's an opportunity for us to do it better. People listening will be like, okay, actually, I've got my own version of this story. I had the same version of that story too, and so it's a very typical start of an entrepreneur thing. But for me, I didn't know anything about supplements or how they got made or anything. So, when people ask me, like, what did you do? I'm like, well, there was a shitty trade show in the Excel Center that I had to go to. And then I had to go to Vienna and go to a trade show there because you don't know anyone in the industry, right? And you just have to do break into an industry. You have to just go meet people and learn the stuff. And there is no other way of doing it, because if you don't know anyone in the category and you have no contacts, you've got to go force your way in. What's your version of that? Like, how did you literally go, make creams, understand how production works, like get to the first 2,500 order? Like, take us through the early days.
Did the 2,500 sell through your website?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like setting up a website.
6 months.
So how did you do that?
But one thing that is really important, I'm just side answering that, is like, when you're a men's brand, there is no wholesale opportunity. It's going back to the internet most answered question. It's like, you have to be DTC because the shelf is so little that no one will take you if you're not big. So we had to be DTC. It was like, just like that. Yeah. And so I didn't know anything about cosmetics and fragrance at all. But I'm a huge nerd and I'm a huge book nerd. So if I don't know something, I can buy dozens of books, read them in a very short amount of time, and being able to understand 80% of how it works in a very, and even more than that, in a very short amount of time.
So launching consumer men's skincare for dummies.
Basically. So yeah, I bought like books on Amazon about like, how skin works, how hair works, how you create cosmetics, what is the role of like a conservative, like of active ingredients, how like why natural is more interesting than like synthetic and stuff like that. So I read it all. I started and I created the first formula on paper by myself.
Wow.
Now I don't. But I'll tell you why just a little bit after a while. And the amazing thing as well is like I can do that on my own, yes, but the amazing thing about starting like a cosmetics and fragrance brand in France is like we have the best talent. Honestly, it's just we have so many factories, so many great schools, so many great people that are very, very good at that. So I was able to find like a partner to like actually manufacture the product because it's an industrial stuff. It's not even manufacture, it's really like a machinery. And it was easy because, there are so many factories in France. You cannot
and you have the cultural heritage.
Yeah, exactly. Because, we have L'Oréal, we have like the Intern, we have the LVMH. All the biggest cosmetics company are in France. Yeah. So you have like the network of it.
Yeah, it's actually amazing what you're saying. It's making me realize, you have all of that set up, just not done well for men.
Yeah.
So you have the talent.
But
not necessarily the application.
But because because men is only 10% of the market, why bother? If you're big, why bother about 10% of the market?
Yeah.
And so I started like that, and the first employee we've had is Elise, who is still part of the company, and she's the R&D director. Wow. And she started like as a marketing intern, like a digital marketing intern, but this was not her thing. No. And she actually she had a double degree from like the best cosmetic and fragrance school in France and from one of like a very good business school. And after 6 months of interning on digital marketing, I said, okay, look, I want you to stay, but I want you to like take over product development because you have like a chemistry background that I don't have, and I can do the first 2 products, but then it's just like, it's too complicated for me. So I need someone that is able to talk in the same way that the factories talk to me, because we will make sure that it goes way, way faster that way.
God, that's amazing. Marketing intern now. What a career.
Yeah.
It's also so interesting though. I remember listening to a very in-depth story of LVMH. And you learn about, what France has that's so unique is, you were just mentioning, like, out of the top cosmetic, an engineering school, culturally as a country, you must be the only country that I know of that has these boutique, but they're not boutique because they're large because it's the industry. Yeah. The industry size is tens of billions, so they are like mainstream schools, but around industry categories.
Yeah, and exports so well.
How unbelievably interesting is that? You just don't have anything like that in the UK.
No, we're very different.
Yeah.
No, that's exports, right? That's so interesting about like, it's also a bit about luck, because I never thought I would do like a cosmetic and fragrance. And when I talk about Kim about the idea and say, okay, and he says, let's do it. Like, we didn't know, or we didn't realize that we were in the right country to actually do it. Yeah. And it's really, at some point, it just boils down to luck.
You had to put yourself there.
Exactly.
Right?
It's like I have like literally Virtu Fortuna tattooed on my skin, which is like, it's a Machiavel stuff. So Fortuna is like luck in Latin, and Virtu is the aptitude of being able to seize luck, which is something in the Machiavel book. And it's, you need luck, but you need also to be able to see luck and use it. But it was like, we have this thing that we can do better. And the luck was about like having someone at the very beginning of us that was very good at product and saying like, you're better than me, that's fine. We're gonna I'm gonna take back some of the marketing you do, and I'm gonna give you back like product development. And it was like one of the best idea I ever had, honestly.
You know what's funny about being an entrepreneur? Everyone thinks we're these super productive machines, crushing it 24/7. But here's the truth. Sometimes just finding the right file feels like a treasure hunt. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about HP's new AI PC. I'm never nervous going into a virtual first impression because this camera is amazing. The Poly Camera Pro will set you up with perfect lighting and perfect framing, even from your kitchen counter. But the best part is its AI features. It can summarize 10,000 words in seconds. Let the HP AI companion focus on the research so you can focus on doing what's most important for your business. Look, I've built and sold companies worth millions, and I'll tell you this. When you've got work to do, you don't want bad tools to slow you down. The HP OmniBook Ultra Flip isn't just another laptop. Because of its integrated AI features, it's like having an entire support team built into your computer. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, this tech actually makes a difference. It's not just fancy features, it's about giving you back time to focus on what matters, building your business. A new AI era begins with the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip. This isn't just an upgrade, it's an absolute game changer. And trust me, once you try it, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it. For 10% off, use the code HPLoveWork. That's HP LoveWork for 10% off. And that's one of the interesting things, like early founders / CEOs stepping back from things. Often people will say it's so lucky this person was amazing. But if you look at it the other way, because you made that great decision, that person then grew and has grown for 8 years and has become them because you made that decision.
Luck is preparation meets opportunity.
Exactly. And so, I mean, it sounds... I mean, the one thing I think is fascinating, when you originally were speaking, I was like, did you launch in France because you knew that the foundations were there? But no, because if you'd launched this in the UK...
We could have launched this in Montreal, right? So
I mean,
that question.
no, Montreal, no, because the market is so little.
Okay.
I mean, the Canada is only 30 million.
Yeah.
So it's really, really little. But I mean, we could have done it in the UK. We could have done it in France. But I don't know if it would have worked in the same way because the network is not the same.
Also, the branding of it being French.
Yeah, of course.
It's just, you know... It's
I mean, in that category, being French is... it's the thing. And
like if you were in the UK, you should move to France.
I mean, I probably like when you see how many like UK or even like Swedish brands end up being produced in France and make sure that it's like made in France and blah blah blah.
100%.
It's a thing. And
there
I
are certain
didn't.
things where there's certain things where being made in Britain is the best, and there's certain things where being made in France is the best.
What's good for Britain?
Shoes.
Well, like shoes
is a great example. Man, you have shoes like the best shoe brand in the world almost.
Yeah, it's a great example. I mean, there's quite a few, but like if you're in beauty, cosmetics, whatever, it's France.
Yeah.
And fashion would be somewhere between Italy, France, Britain, probably in that order.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And so obviously you went from D to C, and then you did break into being on the shelf, and presumably because of the 10% rule, replacing competitors. How did that feel?
So we started 100% e-commerce, and then we did like a first retail pop-up. It was in September 2018, and in 1 month we made like 30k euros, which was at that time like a third of, or like half of what we do online. We're like, okay, this is like one thing. If I'm able to do like half of the online business in 1 month in a store, it means something. So we worked a lot on finding a place, which has taken a bit of time, and we opened straight after the first lockdown in France. And we arrived properly wholesale in a big wholesale was 2021. Wow. We started small, doing small wholesale at very early on because we were at Mr. Porter. I assume that you know guys that because you're Brit and good. Because
I work with them for years.
Yeah, because some people in France don't necessarily know Mr. Porter, but
So I think if you're in Britain, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So we were at Mr. Porter. We were like in like good concept store and stuff, but it's still like very low numbers. And so we arrive in Monoprix, which is sort of a high-end supermarket, a bit similar to Waitrose, slightly higher market, and it was weird to like see the brand for the first time in a supermarket because like it's sort of okay. I like this is real, and much like the store. I mean, with the store, you start like feeling this is real because I mean, the first store we opened is in Le Marais in France, so we are nearby Fred Perry, Supreme, like a Chanel store, like Arc'teryx, Salomon. So it's like, okay,
Feels good.
It feels like it's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
right place, and
Yeah.
it feels like real. But being in the supermarket, it feels like you're no longer niche. Like you play with the big guys, and it was also weird because we actually didn't take any shelf at the very beginning, and we still don't do that much at Monoprix. We have our own furniture.
Right.
So we're sort of like, we have like a huge Horace tower full of Horace product that is just nearby the men's shelf. And we are the only brand that have like a proper like furniture in the store. So it also means that the brand pops up way more in your eye, and you're sort of like, you're treated differently. So in the eye of like a shopper, it's like, oh, you're not like spread out.
You're not like this.
You're not the brand that is spread out through, deodorant and shaving and stuff. Like you have like all of us at one place. And it's, and it was like, it's still amazing. I mean, I was with my mom at like a Monoprix like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I was like, this is myself, and my mom was like straightening up some stuff because like she's my mom.
Yeah.
And it's still it's weird. But the weirdest thing is honestly to see a guy at the airport or at the gym like opening up his toiletry bag, because you have to do that at the airport or at the gym, and like
taking out.
a guy like takes out
Do you tell
like
them?
no, I don't. I'm
the founder.
I heard that recently. I saw someone took a
No.
ice thing out, and I was like, I'm so tempted.
I
I'm
bet
so
you do.
tempted, but I didn't do
I
it.
bet you have.
Well, no, I was with my wife, and she'd
Yeah.
been mortified.
Yeah,
I was
I-
on my own.
I'm like you. I'm always tempted, but I feel like no, I don't
like,
want to. I don't want to be that guy.
Have you,
Totally,
have you ever done the
totally.
sort of sneaky where you're like, like I've just bought that, what do you think? Get a little customer research.
No, that's actually like a smart move
Yeah,
that
it's a
I'd
good
never.
move.
That
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Do you think that getting rejected so much by retail has actually been an advantage to you?
Yes, because we had to build a very, very strong brand. Because if you go to wholesale, you can rely on people talking about you and pushing you, whereas we on your DTC, you have like to have like the strongest brand possible, and it sort of allows you when you go wholesale to have like an edge in the negotiations. Like, I don't rely on you. Like if you shut down, that's okay. My business will go on. And so you don't have you have like a stronger brand, and you also have like a stronger position in the negotiation because you don't rely
Also,
on them.
they're cooler because they have you.
Yeah, exactly. They need me more than I need them. And it's changed the dynamic like a lot. And I'm very like that in wholesale. It's like my mindset is like, I don't need you. I need them at some point, because I mean, I cannot have, like I'm a men's brand. I cannot have like a store in every place in the world.
Yeah.
So you need wholesale at some point. And some wholesale are very good at building reputation and image. Mr. Porter is, for example. So this is why we wanted to go there. But it's different when you actually like rely on them and you shut down if they sort of strike you out.
Yeah.
And there are so many stories in like in consumer goods. I mean, whereas cosmetics or, food or fashion, where like a huge wholesaler shuts you down and like you die right away.
Yeah.
And so being DTC creates this sense of autonomy that is honestly that helps me a lot, like sleep well at night.
Yeah. I used to do the digital marketing for Net-a-Porter and Mr. Porter, and you did see a lot of brands kind of come and go. But I suppose I was sitting there thinking, why aren't the big brands just completely copying you now? Why are they releasing their own niche branded products to take you on?
So this is something I learned as well by going in this industry. It's like the big groups don't launch brands.
They buy them.
They buy them.
Yeah.
So they are very good at like globally scaling a brand. So take it from, being big in 5 countries and making it available everywhere. And they are good at mergers and acquisition, basically. So they don't compete. They don't, it's like they don't think about competing. It's not like this is
So
not.
do you know a lot of other brands now competing with you that I suppose
Now-
all could be acquired in the future?
No. The amazing thing is like we are very alone in our space.
Wow.
And this is something I still don't really realize. It's like, how come we are very alone? I mean, you see brands, as you say, that come and go, but like nothing really happens. I mean, you have Harry's in the US and in the UK, which is like huge, but it's a shaving stuff.
Yeah.
And
That's a clever brand.
And they are like honestly, wow, one of the best.
Amazing.
And but it's shaving, and whereas us, we are a lot of skincare, fragrance, and I mean we're big in deodorant and hair care as well, but it's a different stuff. But now we see that they are sort of copying us. Copying us in certain products. For example, Garnier released some serums that have like this almost the same branding, same ingredients, same way, same name for the product. So like this sort of, I know that like a brand called Veleda, which is like a huge German natural brand, has like a Horace plan because they want to make sure that we sort of don't compete. But the amazing thing with big groups, especially in cosmetics, because they are really, really huge, like when they think it's time to compete, you have like 2 or 3 years ahead of you.
Yeah.
So the idea is like, you want to compete now, but like
you just maintain your edge.
Yeah.
And I suppose that is a good question, right? Which is, how do you keep your disruptor mindset, now that you're number one?
We're number one in skincare, which is just one category. So there are still other categories where we can be number one. So like the mindset is still here because skincare is fine. Yeah. It's like a huge step. I'm saying that like it's nothing, but it's like a huge step.
Sure.
But it's a huge step in one category in one country. So it's just very, very little. I mean, the idea is like how we can do that in other categories. And the main focus for us is fragrance. And in other countries, which is where the main focus is the UK. So, and when we will be like, very big in both countries and both categories, now, the mindset will maybe change a little bit because we will have to think in a different way. But even I'm even not sure what I'm saying, because I mean, Europe is so tiny. I mean, France and Britain and Germany, we feel we are big, but we are very, very tiny. It's like we are nowhere compared to like China and the US or Brazil and India. So it's like I will have that feeling because I mean I realize that we are just still very, very little. But it's different to convey the feeling to the team, because I mean the team and the people that join now feel that they are joining like a much bigger company.
Yeah.
And they are true. Like we are 150 now, and
150 people.
Yeah, we are 150, and including the stores. Yeah. So you feel like you are part of like a bigger thing, but we need to make sure that we keep the culture of like still being bold and going above and beyond. And this is actually the tough part. The tough part is not my mindset. It's like how we can make sure that we have the same company mindset. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the question that gets asked to me all the time. When are you going to break into China?
I mean, I don't know. We sort of soft launch a couple of months ago. But what I call a soft launch is, in China, you can, there is this part of the business called cross-border, where you don't need, as a cosmetic brand or fragrance brand, to
be fully localized.
Exactly. Thank you. But it's still like a very small fraction of the market. So we are there, and we'll see, how far it takes us. And yet we need to realize that this is like a very different like culture. And I'm not saying that in a way of actually like the way people consume, because I mean, you go there, I go there. It's like we dress the same, we look the same. Like everybody has jeans and Air Force One. It's like, but it's not the same social media. It's not the same e-commerce platform. It's not the same way of doing the business totally. And whereas when you move to France from the UK, I mean, it's still Instagram. You can still have your own website. Boots is similar to like a pharmacy or Monoprix in France. You still are in the same, paradigm of business. Whereas like China is just completely different.
As I was saying earlier, like I obviously worked with Creed for basically 8 years from niche to mainstream. And one of the things we did in the last few years was we helped them localize their business to go into China. And then we as a business, we were called Verb. We built a business called Verb China specifically to help brands do it because it was such an opportunity. And obviously it's so much harder than just going into China, right? Like it's, it's a whole different landscape. But I think for me, thinking about you and China, I want to get a sense of your like scale, and I want to get a sense of the story. Like, so you raised money originally. Yeah. You then pretty much scaled out the gate, and you've been year on year growing at what seems like an unbelievable pace.
How much did you raise? Sorry.
Yeah. We raised 25 million.
Right.
So 25 million to do 25 million. No. No. Just not at once, like several rounds. And we took the business from 0 to 25 million in 8 years.
Wow.
Want to know what kills big deals faster than anything? Security compliance. Honestly, it's a headache, and I don't know anyone who likes doing it. But there is a solution. One that makes security compliance easy. Vanta. Think of Vanta as your compliance wizard. They automate everything for SOC 2 and ISO 27001, turning complex security requirements into a simple, streamlined process. Over 8,000 companies, from startups to giants, trust Vanta to handle their compliance. Use Vanta so you don't get slowed down by security paperwork and focus on what matters, growing your business. Visit vanta.com/secret leaders now and get $1,000 off your first year.
That's incredible. And how big can it go now? Because I suppose...
I mean, we can be like a 500 million brand, basically.
Wow. 500 million revenue.
Yeah. Revenue, because I mean, if you look at,
because you're working out the percentage of the market and how much of the 10%
and if I say it, I mean, if you look at some of the biggest brands, this is actually what they do. So, and one of our huge edge is like we are in skincare and fragrance, which are like the highest value categories. So it would allow us to even like stretch a bit further than that.
Wow. And so I think for entrepreneurs watching, I think the most interesting thing about you weren't from fragrance, you weren't from beauty. You sat down with a business partner who was a friend and you said, let's conquer a market. So like, what would your advice be to young, not necessarily young, but new entrepreneurs looking to disrupt a market? Like, how do you do that?
Know your audience. First, main thing is like know the people you are selling the products to or the service. It's like, because at the end of the day, it's the clients that makes you. So you have to know, why they buy and why they quit, why they come back, why they are into, and both in terms of product and branding. It's really like know your audience and be focused. So say no a lot. Like I'm known to say no like a lot. Like I'm the one that say no. In between the both of us, I'm the one that says no. But
is that like no to new categories, new products?
No to no to new categories, new product. New wholesaler.
Sounding very Parisian right now.
And but the
right there, that focus.
But the thing is like it's easy to sort of fall into the trap of saying yes to all the opportunities. And being focused is also saying no to, like, when you start as an entrepreneur, and we are a scale up now, we were a startup. It's like people want to talk to you, so you're invited to stuff, etc. And being focused is like no, like what is important is my job, my family, my friends. That's it. To me, I'm not saying that's for everyone, but being focused is also like being able to think like, no, I don't need to go to that conference. Like, I know it's a startup thing, but like, it will not change my business. Just like, does this thing will change for my consumer? And this is why, like, we stay away from like corporate press for so long. It's like, yeah, you're like a cosmetic industry mag, but like, my client, like, it doesn't read that.
Can I just second this? This is exceptional advice. Yeah. I 100% do the same thing at Heights. And I think this is something that people don't do enough. You do get invited to everything. There is a time and a place. Actually, when you're starting up, it can be very helpful. When you're starting up, it can be very helpful because you maybe need to meet those investors and you maybe do need to meet those people that can maybe help you with that thing or that thing. But you also have to really figure out when, like you said, is this going to help me sell to customers? No. And you get invited to all these talks. And in the world that you're in, for example, Chris, you doing a talk can be massively valuable in so many ways. You can get customers for the Creator Accelerator, and you're in B2B.
Not for the audience, but
No, but genuinely for doing talks, the right people in the right audience, they might be absolutely perfect for you. In consumer, the stages that we're at, almost, you could 99.9% of them are totally a waste of time, even the ones that sound like the best ones, because they are just never going to move the needle for your revenue, your customer base. Your customers are rarely in those rooms.
Exactly.
So it's
similar
so
businesses.
good.
You're like 15 million and you're like 4 years in, 5 years in or something.
4 years,
I mean, similar thing.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah.
So how do you market to men? Like, where are men buying from? And I imagine probably it's very similar to you. I bet the retention on both your products is phenomenal.
Yeah, retention is good.
Yeah.
So the point is really to acquire at a good price. Because I mean, you can acquire at a bad price and like the lifetime value will be bad. So
well, and you can acquire cheap customers, and that's a waste
exactly.
of time as well.
Yeah, of course. That's a very good point. Yeah. And I mean, the insight was very easy. Men do not look for cosmetics or fragrance, so you have to interrupt them. Where do you interrupt them? On social media. Because at the beginning I didn't have money to do TV. So I mean, the only way to interrupt was like paid social, and because it was easy. So I come from the digital marketing background, so from fashion, journalism, digital marketing, and I was just like looking, at Google Trends. I was looking at the volume of search of, moisturizer for men. It was like so low. It was so low. And I was like, okay, so they don't really care what they buy, but they want something better and they don't look for it. So the only way to reach them is through social media. So we sort of built the team around creating content and, amplifying content and just to interrupt people. So every time I meet people and they're like, I've seen you on YouTube and I've seen you everywhere. I see you a bit too much sometimes. And that's the whole point. It's because if I don't do that, you will never look for us.
And that means you're my potential customer.
Yeah, totally.
And do men, I'm only thinking about how I buy things, but do men like to buy things bundled? Like, has it been easy for you to move from skincare to fragrance, for example? Are the same customers? Because I know with you, for example, they've moved from your first Vitals products to your new products quite heavily. And so is that something you're experiencing, that skincare are moving to?
So when you say bundle, you mean like bundle of the same product or bundle of different products?
No,
different products.
Different products.
Basket.
Yeah. So what we created at the very beginning was what we call routines, which are sold as kits. Because if you don't know what to use, buying like a routine is super easy. It's going to be like, I'm going to get a cleanser, a moisturizer, and like a scrub. And this is called the face kit at Horace. And it has been like the best-selling kit.
I can imagine.
At the very beginning.
It tells you what to do.
And people sort of repeat on individual product. And they buy different stuff. But this one for skincare. But if you look at the categories of fragrance or deodorant and stuff, like people buy just one product. And they are fine with that. But for skincare, because I mean, you need to clean and you need to moisturize. And sometimes you have you have like very dry skin or you have like wrinkles, or you need like an extra steps. So it's easy to bundle. And for us, it's also like the main way to do promotions, because we don't do a lot of coupons. We don't do sales. We don't do Black Friday, for example.
Yeah, we don't either.
We never do that. We had like a great week.
Why?
Though.
Why is that?
Because I mean, this is no collection. It's not like a fashion sale where you need to.
Do you do discounting throughout the year?
Yeah, we have like kits.
Yeah.
So we have kits, and we do
like bundled discount.
Yeah, right? We have bundled discount. It's not like a huge discount. It's like 5 to 15%.
You're incentivizing people to invest more into
exactly.
your brand.
We had Nicola Kilner on, who was the CEO of Deciem, The Ordinary, etc. the other day, and we were talking about like discounting throughout the year, Black Friday, and how 66% of products are cheaper at another time of the year anyway. So it's all a fast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
smoke and mirrors.
We are very, very like, we have like a very good value for money. So like you can get it anytime you want. And to be honest, we are also very good value for money because we are happy to have like a smaller margin on a DTC level. I mean, if you take like the cost of the product and the retail price compared to most brands, we just do less. But because we are DTC, we capture more of the value. That's the sort of balance. So it's like you have like a very good product for a very good price all year long. I will not do more promotions. And but again, it's like bundle is like more of a skincare stuff. And then people repeat individually and they go through different products. So that's I don't think that's a men's or woman stuff. I just think like it's just easy to get everything just with a 10% off.
Yeah.
So who are the brands you look up to?
None.
No. This is like my usual answer, but I'm gonna like think more. No. If I look at men's category in beauty, none. Because there is like, I mean, Harry's is, but Harry's is interesting up to a point where they don't do the same thing as we do. They are interesting because, I mean, it was the first or one of the first like men's grooming brand that took off online and then moved like wholesale. Yet they are like specific category and they don't do retail. They just do e-commerce and wholesale, whereas we do wholesale, e-commerce, retail, and several categories. So it's still a good inspiration.
Yeah, but from a brand point of view, yes.
From a brand point of view, it's interesting because I mean, it came at the same time of Dollar Shave Club, for example.
Yeah.
And Dollar Shave Club crashed. I mean,
it did look like, why are you bringing out Harry's? Dollar Shave Club's killing it. Like, how are you guys ever going to succeed? And actually, the answer was luxury, quality, pricing,
retention,
art photography, like lifestyle imagery.
Because
like they really
Harry's is profitable.
Yeah.
Dollar Shave Club was not, so they just like. I'm not sure the brand still exists, but it was interesting though because I mean at that time there were no one, and I mean Glossier is a huge inspiration as well because I mean it was like the first beauty brand that was started 100% online, very focused on brand that was able to work across categories as well, which is something very, very rare in beauty because I mean if in women's beauty people, women tend to be loyal to a brand per category. Instead of, moving from skincare to hair care for everyone. It's like I buy Olaplex for my hair. I buy Byredo for my fragrance. And I buy The Ordinary for my skin. Whereas men, we are loyal to the brand across the category.
I was thinking I'm probably after this show going to buy all of your products and it's one of those things where, like, if I have a good experience with the product, I probably will buy it forever.
Yeah.
And that is a very man thing.
It's a very man
thing.
Yeah.
Very man
thing. Not. It's actually not a man thing. It's a
really?
thing.
Or just
us
two then?
No. Men are lazy about cosmetics.
Yeah.
Because this is a category we are not interested in, which is the same as women being lazy in electronics.
Oh, okay.
It's just the amount of time you want to allocate to that.
Yes.
And it's
I would spend a lot of time buying like computer if I was ever to change computer for that stuff I would spend ages.
Yeah.
He's right.
I bought a hair purifier for my place. My wife doesn't want you will cut that. Not saying me. I'm gonna say it again because I said my mom instead of my wife. That's pretty weird.
Again.
So that was bad. That was bad. So I bought a hair purifier for my place. And my wife has not unpacked it for 2 days. She wants me to install it, which is basically plug it. But because it's like she doesn't care.
Interested.
She doesn't care.
Yeah.
So we are loyal to a brand when we are lazy. And the good thing is like men are lazy in cosmetic and fragrance. So and like the good thing is like I knew that because I've talked with like so many friends and people.
Like once you find the black t-shirt that you like, we talked about the other day. You know, I buy mine from Arquette. And where'd you get yours from?
Arquette.
Oh, is it? Yeah. So there you go. And like, if you find them and you're like, I like the fit of Arquette, I'm done. You just don't bother changing.
Exactly.
They have to kind of do something impressive to upset you if you change that.
Yeah, exactly. And say again, so it was we are lazy. So it was like, okay, once they are hooked up on our ass, how we can make sure that they go from categories to categories and product to product. So this is why Glossier was like a very interesting example, because it was like a woman's brand that was able to do fragrance, skincare, and makeup. And they are very good at skincare and fragrance, which is like kind of an amazing thing, because I mean, who does that? Guerlain, Lancôme. That's it. So they were like a huge inspiration. And then it's mostly like fashion, menswear, not fashion, menswear brand. So because in the way they talk and operate, in the way like, for example, Carhartt is able to speak to so many men, being so broad. And at the same time, they own the streetwear, like Supreme owns the streetwear as well. So they are like inspiring in a way that you can be huge, have like a huge brand and like own a category in a way that no one does.
Where's Carhartt from?
It's actually like it's an American brand from Detroit, but the Carhartt we buy is like a licensed version that is from Germany.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, because Supreme is American.
Supreme is New York.
American brand, but it's British founder.
James Jabia is a British founder. Yeah. And
this is like a literal lesson on branding. It's like, so if you listen to the whole episode back and you think about how to launch a product, it's fascinating on like how to think about the customer. So like now you have an unbelievably loyal customer base. You know, you've got men who are incredibly, won't churn from your business, I suppose, from a business perspective. Loyal. So incredibly loyal, and you've got an incredible brand. You're expanding. Like, what's on your mind day to day now? Like, what are the things that you're focused on for, expanding the company?
Two things, fragrance and like UK. It's really like, so we launched like a second fragrance, and it took off in a way we have never seen since the first launch. It's the number one product. It has been sold out once. It will be sold out in 2 weeks again, probably, because we don't have enough.
Wow.
And I knew that we had things to play in fragrance, because we had the first one that was launched in 2019, just before COVID, in October. So really like worst timing ever to launch a fragrance. But like, man, and it's sort of, it has been built into being like the top 3 best-selling product. So like, okay, maybe there is something. So we launched...
All time?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, when you say, I say yearly, not all time, but yearly.
Comparatively.
And it was like, okay, this is like something is going on. And we had like, clients coming into the stores saying like, I want a fragrance, but I don't like this one because you just have one. And I think it's fine. I mean, it's normal, just you need more. So we focus, I've been focusing a lot on that. And for 2 reasons. First, because I still like do the product, and I do fragrance with just Elise, who is the R&D director. We just do that on our own. No one validates anything but us.
Wow.
And also because not moving, but like growing into fragrance changed the business. It changed the business because you are perceived as more premium because it's fragrance. So what does it mean for the brand? Does it change the way you do wholesale? Does it change the way you do content? Does it change the way you use media? And it does, because you're perceived as more premium. So you need to act like it. You don't need to. We don't need to change the whole playbook, but it means that certain wholesaler we work with, is it still the right place to be? That now we do fragrance. The way we do certain things online, is it still just, we still need to do that on Instagram and stuff. So it's a very interesting moment, because we never thought we would do fragrance, to be honest. It sort of happens really by accident. A lot because of Elise, because she graduated from like the best place on earth for that. And so I thought for us always more like a men's grooming brand. So it was like very, very clear. But being a men's grooming and fragrance brand, even though it's the same category, it changed things. So I'm focusing a lot of like, what does it mean for everyone, and how I can make sure that I voice it a lot in the company. So the mindset shift from being men's grooming to being men's grooming and fragrance. And like, I'm going to say that now. So, I had the question beforehand from you guys. And I was talking about it with Annie, which is like our global communication director. And saying like, okay, you can say that and that and that. And I was like, and one of the things he says is he talk about the product in a way that works for grooming but doesn't work for fragrance. And this is like an interesting, very specific point. It's like I need to work on changing the mindset of this. Everyone think as Horace in the company as like a men's grooming and fragrance, because in the eyes of the clients, that's okay. Like if like 4 of the best selling products are 2 fragrances, in the eyes of the clients, that's okay. But in the mind of the company, it's different. So focusing a lot of that and focusing a lot of developing the UK. And so developing the UK is how we can, of course, be big, but we need to find what are the channels. So in France, we started e-commerce, then we move into retail, then we move into like Monoprix, so high-end supermarket, which is the only supermarket we will ever have. And then we move into pharmacies. So this is a play for France. In the UK, we started e-commerce. We were on Mr. Porter. We are on end clothing. So we are like on high-end menswear store. But we don't want to go to Waitrose. Boots is interesting, but it's too soon. So what do we do? And so we launched on Amazon. And because in the UK, 55% of the online men's beauty spending is on Amazon. 60% in the US, 55% in the UK, 35% in France. So I mean, we didn't need Amazon in France, but we need it in the UK.
That makes sense.
So it's just how we can find the channels which will be different than France in the UK, and how we can scale it. Now we know we can scale e-commerce, that's sure. But how can we do that in retail? How can we do that in Amazon?
That is fascinating. I have a feeling you're going to do incredibly well in the UK, because I literally watched Creed do so well.
Yeah, you've got a great inside track on this, because you actually built so many. I mean, there's barely a luxury brand that you guys didn't build.
Yeah.
The websites for us, you've been so close to this stuff. Actually,
it's so weird.
You've
that
got
I do
a really
what I
good
do
second
now,
sense of it. Yeah.
Like left it all behind for sure, but like worked with everyone from like the like Bugatti, Aston Martin, all of them, the yacht brands, the plane brands. But then from an e-com perspective,
and Net-a-Porter, Mr. Porter,
like launched or built, did the SEO, did the paid for everyone. But there's few stories like Creed where like you go from something that was doing like, I think in the first couple of years it was like low-ish millions, and now it's like absolutely enormous. The e-commerce at Christmas was absurd. Aventus was like every Christmas present a guy was buying. It was like wild. But if I feel like your plan is exactly what we would have been talking about at the time. What are there any like specific stores, individual stores you would target now?
Surely Liberties and.
That's a good question.
Like Harrods.
I would love to be at Harrods, at Liberties and Selfridges. The thing is, they don't have space shelf for men.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They have space shelf for fragrance.
I'm surprised about Harrods.
I mean, if they have like very, very small shelves, but actually men don't go there. I mean,
They send their personal shoppers there, I suppose.
I mean, yeah,
But
probably.
That's still the point, yeah.
So, but moving into fragrances and scaling that category will allow us to be considered by Liberty, by Selfridges, by Harrods in a way we were not before. And much like in France, in France we are in one department store, which is Galeries Lafayette. But even though Le Bon Marché, which is sort of the Harrods, the local Harrods, are into us and they've come to us several times, they don't know where to put us.
Yeah.
Because we do men's grooming. But when we do men's grooming and fragrance, it sort of opens up or where we can be sold, because they know how to operate men's fragrance. They have Creed. So it's like, I have Creed, I can do the same.
Amazing. That's like a masterclass in D2C.
Amazing. Marc, it's been a massive pleasure. Thank you so much for coming and sharing the story of Horace.
Yeah, cheers.
Thank you. That was like a good talk.